For this unit, the students will be in 7th grade, which is around the age of 12 and 13. All of the students can speak English, and a few students are bilingual in Spanish. When starting this unit, we will want to remind students of what they learned about fossils in 6th grade. This will help students understand how scientists look at bone structures to study adaptations. Students will also have already learned about cell structure and function, which will help with the understanding of genetic variation. The student objectives are based on the next generation science standards that the state of Illinois has adopted. Our goal is for students to first learn about natural selection, where they will study how variations affect the survival of species, and then move into artificial selection, where students will gain knowledge about how technologies have impacted inheritance of desired traits.
Hi, I'm Alex for Teach Like This, and these are the 5 E's. The 5 E's are an instructional model based on the constructivist approach to learning. Constructivists believe that learners build or construct new ideas on top of old ideas. Each of the 5 E's describes a phase of learning, and each phase begins with the letter E. We have engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. In the engage phase, students should be making connections between past and present learning, and anticipating possible future outcomes. During the explore phase, students explore their environment and actively manipulate the materials. This is where they identify the new processes, concepts, and skills. In the third phase, students are verbalizing the new concepts that they're forming. And this is the time that the teacher will introduce the formal key terms and definitions and explain processes, concepts, and skills. In the elaborate phase, students will practice these new concepts and skills to gain mastery over them, or at least dive deeper in the subject and gain a broader understanding. This is where they obtain more information based on area of interest and refine their skills. In the evaluate phase, teachers and students assess their new understandings. In this phase, a rubric will be presented so that students can evaluate themselves based on predetermined criteria. And the teacher will do the same thing. At the end of the activity, teacher and student can meet and discuss where their points match up and where they don't. A 5 E's activity allows teacher and student to experience the same activities, to construct meaning, and to continually assess their understanding of a concept. That's all for this video. If you have additional questions, you can connect with me on Twitter, by email, or by commenting down below. And subscribe for weekly strategies in your newsfeed. I'm Alex, and that's Teach Like This.
We implemented technology to introduce both the topics of evolution and the development of artificial intelligence in a way that modifies a traditional classroom discussion. According to the Sammer model, this is known as augmentation. To introduce evolution, we used the website polleverywhere.com, and to introduce artificial intelligence, we used padlet.com. And both of these are just ways to get the students to post their ideas so in a format or on a forum where everyone can see them and also comment on other people's discussion posts. We also reached the redefinition stage of the Sammer model by incorporating a simulation that allows students to see how natural selection occurs in the real world. This simulation allows students to see multiple generations of a species. This process would normally take decades to view in the real world, but with a simulation you can view multiple generations in just a short amount of time. We also hit the redefinition stage by allowing students to create a media presentation. They use this media presentation to defend their arguments, either for or against the development of artificial intelligence. And students can present their ideas in ways previously unavailable by adding videos and simulations and also interactive charts and graphs. Some other technology that just fits in the substitution section of the Sammer model is they will use search engines to research ideas and access video clips from online.
On day 1 of our unit, students would come into class and use a Chromebook or laptop to get logged into polleverywhere.com. When they get there, they would answer the question about what they think natural selection is. This will start the engaging process of our 5 E's learning strategy. After students post their thoughts, we will have a class discussion about them. This picture shows an example of possible responses we might get from our students. After the discussion, students would be given a cutout of a butterfly. The goal with this butterfly is that students would decorate it so they could hide it in the classroom. This picture shows a student coloring a butterfly to match or camouflage it to the wall. This stage of the lesson matches to the explore phase of the 5 E's by having students think about and explore possible animal adaptations that allow them to survive their environment. For day 2, students would come into their class full of hidden butterflies from the previous day. We would first review yesterday's activity, and then I would give them time to find one butterfly. The rule would be that they could not find a butterfly that is theirs or someone's within that class because they would have seen that student hide it, and that's why there are spots X'd out on this chart. We would have this chart posted at the front of the class. Students would look on the back of the butterfly to see what class period the student who made the butterfly is from and then post it on the chart at the front of the class. Once the chart was complete, the class would discuss why a butterfly was more likely or not likely to survive. This process is keeping with the engaging piece but moves into the explanation stage of the 5 E's because students have to reason with each other about their butterfly survival. On day 3, students would use this online worksheet to research more animal adaptations. The benefit of having them explore on their own gets them engaged because they're researching animals they like and are more likely to remember their explanation of each adaptation. So what they would do with this worksheet, they would research online using Google search engine different animals that they like. Once they find a few animals, they would fill in the chart. I have an example here of a polar bear. I highlighted that it was a structural advantage that they have thick fur that keeps them warm in the environment, and then they would also include the source of where they got it from. This is the natural selection simulator. This is something that the students can use to mimic natural selection, but at a faster rate. So the first thing I would have them do is make sure it's reset. So I'll hit reset all, yes, and then it will start going. So you want to make sure you hit pause. The students can use the different mutations over here. So right now there is one white rabbit. I would click add a friend so that way they can start reproducing. I'm going to make sure that the mutation that's going to be added is brown fur. Since it's a brown environment, I would want the students to see that a rabbit with brown fur is more likely to survive. And then I would hit play. It says mutation is coming. And then at the very bottom here it says time until next generation. So now they've reproduced and there's one brown rabbit. I would encourage them to do the wolves, because that's going to show a little bit more of what would really happen in the environment. And then this kind of just keeps going. That the brown ones keep reproducing. During each generation, a few white rabbits will show up, but they're killed off right away. Then, if students want to, so they can even get a better idea, they can switch the environment to Arctic. And of course, right away, the brown ones are not going to survive. And then it will kind of naturally show how the white ones then will reproduce with the brown ones, and any white ones that show up will be more likely to survive because of the way the environment is. And it's really just a great way to show natural selection.
Hello, at this point of the lesson we're going to be transitioning from evolution through natural selection to artificial intelligence. So at this point the students should have a good idea about what natural selection is, and now we want to get the students to think about how natural selection impacts humans, and they're also going to learn a little bit about what artificial intelligence is, and they're going to try to make connections between the development of artificial intelligence and human evolution through natural selection. So any good way to start out a unit is with some discussion, and a good way to engage them is through a series of questions that will lead students to come up with controversial answers or different opinions. And this is exactly what this type of unit is meant to do at this point. It's to get the students to think and challenge each other's viewpoints. So the first step is the students will answer these questions or put ideas to the answers to the questions using software known as Padlet. And what it does is it allows students to post their thoughts and ideas and view other people's thoughts and ideas. And what we can do then is we can start making connections between the students' thoughts and ideas. Another great thing about using Padlet is that you can insert video links as a teacher, and you could insert links to other articles. So if students are struggling to get ideas and don't know what to put down, they can access these videos and links to kind of help them understand things that they might not get from these questions. Basically, by the end of today, what I want them to get to is choosing whether the development of artificial intelligence is good or bad. And they might have ideas for both, but I want them to pick one side or the other. When we move into day 6, we want to start a debate protocol, because this is what's going to happen. Students are going to come up with their argument, and they're going to have to defend their choice to their classmates. So today students will be deciding whether artificial intelligence will either help the process of human evolution or hinder it, and they'll come up with 2 reasons for choosing their side. Then what we're going to do is we're going to split up the class based on what they chose, and we'll put a line of students on either side of the room, and they're going to pair up with someone who has a conflicting viewpoint. Each student's going to have 30 seconds to make their claim and give their reasons for it. And at the end of the 30 seconds, the students will be given time to record any information they find good into either the column for a positive impact or negative impact on human evolution. Also, at the end of the 30 seconds, what will happen is the students will have an opportunity to flip sides if they want to. This will continue until either most of the students are on one side of the room or the other, or if it stays about 50-50, it will just go on until each student had an opportunity to talk with every other student in the room. Then the students are going to split up into small groups and go through several stations that show the benefits and the dangers of artificial intelligence. The first station is on artificial intelligence in security systems. There's a short video that goes with it and some questions. The second one is jobs for robots with artificial intelligence and some of the benefits and some of the dangers of that. The third station shows conflicting views from major scientists in the field of artificial intelligence. And there are some scientists who are completely for the development of artificial intelligence, and there's some scientists who think that we should maybe slow down a little bit, and there's other scientists who think we should shut it down completely. So this will give the students a good idea that, you know, there is different opinions on this, even with the leaders in the field. During this time, what they should be looking for is evidence that supports their views. Station 4 talks about technology dependency, and there's a short video with that, just to get the students to think about how much they actually use technology. And Station 5 talks about the use of artificial intelligence in military applications. And what some people eventually think may happen is that if the machines are allowed to think on their own, okay, they might actually have a deeper understanding of things and be able to think faster than humans. So they might be able to actually take over at one point. Okay, then we move into day 7 and 8, and this is going to be the research stage. So what's going to happen is that each team, there's going to be for the development of AI and against the development of AI, is going to split up into little mini teams. And each little mini team is going to research a piece of evidence that supports their idea. The first thing, though, they're just going to go through the general, through some sort of search engine and find ways that there's advantages and disadvantages to artificial intelligence, because it's good to get both viewpoints. And then what they're going to do is they are going to develop arguments. So each team is going to make an argument, and they're going to find evidence that supports their argument. So each group should end up with 3 different arguments. And then in day 9, what they're going to be doing is creating a media presentation that defends their choice. And this may take a day or 2, and on the conclusion of that, each team is going to show their presentation. And following that, there's going to be a brief discussion on the strengths and weaknesses of both groups' presentations.
This is the Natural Selection Simulator handout. During the simulation, students will change variables about the animals and their environment. The first part of the assignment is very direct because it tells them what to change and how to change it. The second part of the assignment, which I've zoomed in on, allows them to think outside the box. This has the students describe how the simulation is alike and different from what would really happen in an ecosystem, and it asks them what the students would change to better represent an actual environment. Because the beginning of this assignment is direct, I would expect most of the students to have the same type of responses as you see to the left. For the second part, where I ask the students to describe what might be different, I would want students to talk about how there might be other type of predators besides wolves and how it might be hard to get food because of other organisms.
Throughout the lesson, there will be several formative assessments. During the beginning part of the lesson, when we're talking about natural selection, the students will be doing research on different types of adaptations and filling out a handout that shows the different types of adaptations on different animals. They will also be completing the simulator activity, and this will give us a good understanding on whether or not they can complete the objective about the effects of evolving through natural selection. When we move into the second part of the lesson with artificial intelligence, the students will also be doing research on the pros and cons of artificial intelligence, and they'll have a handout that goes along with that. The students will have to make a claim and then find evidence for either the pros or the cons. They'll also make a media presentation on their position, and the media presentation will be a group part of the project where they will present their argument, whether they believe that artificial intelligence will positively impact human evolution or negatively impact human evolution. And finally, just to get an idea of what each individual student got from the lesson, we'll have them write a short paragraph describing the impact on the development of artificial intelligence will have on human evolution through natural selection. Finally, to get an idea of how well the lesson worked for the students, at the conclusion of the lesson on the last day, what we'll have is we'll have the students come up to the board and we'll make a pro and a con list. And this will be a list of things the students liked about the lesson, things the student did not like about the lesson, and then after we get their ideas up on the board, we can talk about those ideas, and this will give us an idea of how to improve this lesson for next year.